Pain is not your punishment. It is your teacher. It is the forge in which your true self is hammered into shape. Every scar on your body, every wound inside your heart, every disappointment that once made you fall to your knees, these were not accidents, my friend. They were lessons written in fire. You see, life has many ways to test a man. It does not always send an opponent in the ring. Sometimes it sends loss, loneliness, betrayal. But every one of these is a form of training. The problem is that most people misunderstand pain. They think pain is the enemy. They run from it, hide from it, cover it with pleasure or distraction. Yet what you run from owns you. When I was young, I thought strength meant never feeling hurt. But later I discovered strength is not the absence of pain, it is the mastery of it. If you resist pain, you remain fragile. If you face it, you become unbreakable. The world will not always be kind to you. There will be people who doubt you, situations that humble you, days that seem impossible to survive. But if you meet those days as a warrior meets his training, alert, disciplined, without complaint, then life itself becomes your dojo. In Kung Fu, we learn that resistance builds the muscle. Every punch, every kick that meets air or wood, every bruise we carry is the evidence of growth. The body adapts, so does the mind. Emotional pain functions in the same way. Your heartbreak, your rejection, your fear, they are weights. If you lift them instead of avoiding them, your mind becomes strong. Most people numb their pain. They drink, they talk, they scroll through their days. Empty movement with no reflection. But when you numb pain, you only delay its lesson. It hides inside you like a shadow, waiting for the next moment of weakness to return. I never ran from pain. When it came, I asked, "What are you showing me?" Sometimes pain revealed fear, the fear of being not enough. Sometimes it revealed ego, the part that wants to prove, to dominate, to be seen. And sometimes it revealed dependency, the craving for approval. When you see these things clearly, pain becomes a mirror. It reflects the parts of you that are still breakable. So I sat with it. In stillness, pain speaks. It tells you what is false. It burns away the illusions that keep you asleep. My friend, the world teaches you to look away from discomfort. But if you learn to look directly into it, you reclaim your power. When you ask, "What is this teaching me?" you stop being a victim of circumstance. You become the author of your own story. Real power is not loud. It does not shout or boast. It is quiet, like the strength of a mountain or the calm of deep water. It cannot be stolen because it was built within you. You see, many people train their bodies for hours, but collapse at the first blow to the heart. Why? Because they never trained the mind. They thought muscles alone could make them warriors. But a body without a strong mind is like a sword without a handle. Sharp, yet useless. Emotional pain is resistance training for the spirit. Every disappointment, every rejection is your chance to build endurance. When you breathe through it instead of fleeing, you become calm in chaos. You learn that the mind can be shattered and still move forward. That is a strength no gym can give you. When I faced failure, I treated it like practice. I sat with loneliness, with shame, with anger. I studied them. Each time I survived one of those emotions, my discipline grew stronger, my respect for myself deepened. Silence became my companion. You do not grow by avoiding the storm. You grow by walking into it and realizing it could not destroy you. Pain is not your enemy, it is your coach. Every time you survive what was meant to end you, you evolve. You become the version of yourself that others cannot understand. Most people fear silence. because silence exposes them. They fill the air with noise so they don't have to hear their own heart. But silence is the dojo of awareness. In silence, the mind becomes sharp. It reveals who truly stands with you, what habits weaken you, what truths you have ignored. When I trained alone late at night, I learned that silence has a rhythm. It is the space where truth echoes back at you. You begin to see not only your technique, but your inner posture, the tension, the pride, the fear. Silence is not emptiness. It is the mirror of your spirit. So when you are hurt or betrayed, do not run to the crowd. Sit in silence. Let the pain speak. It will whisper your mistakes and your blind spots. It will teach you where you gave too much and demanded too little. Silence is not isolation. It is refinement. Through silence, you become immune to manipulation. You stop needing approval. You stop fearing loss. When you master yourself in silence, no chaos can command you. You become calm but alert, still but unstoppable, soft yet sharper than steel. When you return from that silence, people will feel your change. You won't need to explain it. They will sense it in your presence. But listen closely. When pain controls you, you become predictable. A predictable man is easy to defeat. Pain makes you flinch at rejection, react to insult, retreat from challenge. That is how the world controls the average person, through their unmastered emotions. I tell you, my friend, learn to hold your center when the fire rises. Do not let anger choose your words or fear decide your moves. When you stay calm under attack, you become dangerous. Not because you seek violence, but because you cannot be provoked. A fighter who reacts blindly exposes his rhythm. A fighter who remains unreadable controls the fight. Life works the same way. If you train yourself to respond with clarity instead of reaction, you become untouchable. In every battle, external or internal, the calm mind wins. You see, to be calm is not to be passive. It is to possess control over your weapon. Water flows softly, but it carves stone. That is why I say, be like water, adaptable, flexible, unstoppable. When you master emotional control, you move through pain as water moves through rock. Never resisting, never clinging, always flowing. People will test you. They will project their chaos onto you. But if your center is strong, their energy dissolves before it reaches you. Do not confuse calmness with weakness. Calmness is stored power. It is the quiet confidence of a warrior who knows his own strength. It is the stillness before the strike. I learned this through hardship. When I was told I could not succeed, when people laughed at my ideas, when doors closed in my face, I felt the sting of rejection. But I refused to let that pain dictate my actions. I turned it into fuel. I said to myself, I will use this. I will become better because of this. Most people want peace without discipline, but peace without strength is only illusion. The calm you have not earned will vanish when pressure comes. So train under pressure. Prepare when life is calm, so when the storm arrives, you stand firm. In martial arts, we rehearse the fall before the fight. We fall, roll, rise again. We learn to recover before we must. In life, the same principle applies. Train with your pain before life trains you by force. Anticipate struggle, imagine loss, face fear in your mind so that when it comes, you are already its master. Pain becomes a sparring partner. It sharpens your timing, your awareness, your precision. Every blow from life teaches you something about your stance. Adjust, refine, keep moving. The man who trains only when the weather is fair will not last through winter, but the man who trains in the cold, in the rain, in the dark, he carries summer within him. So, my friend, do not wait for hardship to find you. Seek challenge. Embrace discomfort. It is how you stay alive, awake, and dangerous. You see, my friend, the greatest danger is not the struggle you face, but the comfort that follows it. Peace can make a warrior soft. When everything feels calm, you forget the discipline that forged you. You start believing the war is over, but peace is the most dangerous illusion of all. That is why I never stopped training. Even when my body was tired, even when I had no opponent, I trained my mind. I said to myself, one day the storm will return and I will already be ready. When the world is quiet, use that quiet as your battlefield. Sharpen your awareness, refine your technique, keep your edge alive. Most people wait until pain knocks on their door before they wake up, but by then they are already bleeding. Do not wait for pain to surprise you. Rehearse it. Visualize failure. Rehearse loss. Rehearse betrayal. In your imagination, fall 1,000 times so that when you truly fall once, you rise without hesitation. In martial arts, we call this pre-suffering training. You tear the muscle before the fight so it can rebuild stronger. You push beyond the limit when you are alone so that when life hits, you have already endured worse in your practice. When you train like that, you do not fear wounds, you have already lived them. Pain becomes familiar, an old sparring partner. It hits you, you nod, and continue the match. That is what mastery looks like, not the absence of struggle, but the absence of panic. People ask me, Bruce, why do you train so hard when there is no opponent? I tell them, because the opponent will come. He always comes. The opponent may not be a man, it may be failure, disappointment, illness, or loss, but he always comes, and he strikes when you least expect it. Only preparation will protect you. When you live prepared, pain cannot surprise you. You execute instead of crumble. While others panic, you breathe. That calmness is lethal because it cannot be faked. It is forged through years of voluntary hardship. So I trained like I was bleeding even when I wasn't. I practiced silence when the world was loud. I carried discipline when others carried excuses. Because storms never announce themselves, they just arrive. And when they arrive, I smile. There is something else pain reveals, something deeper. It shows you your breaking point, and then asks, will you stop here or will you go beyond? Most people stop. They call it the end. I call it the beginning. Breakdowns, my friend, are not the end of you. They are blueprints. Each one shows you where the foundation was weak. Every collapse reveals the flaw in your structure. If you are wise, you study it. You rewind the moment. What did I ignore? What emotion did I suppress? Which weakness did I pretend not to see? The lesson hides inside the wreckage. Do not rush to rebuild. First, investigate. Pain leaves clues. Follow them. When you study your own breakdowns with honesty, you find patterns, situations, people, habits that keep reopening the same wound. Once you see the pattern, you break it. Growth is not pretending you are fine. Growth is sitting among the ruins of your mistakes and saying, here is what happened. Now I understand. When you do that, your failures transform into formulas. You start moving strategically, not emotionally. A true fighter studies his losses more than his victories. Every time I failed, I asked, what did this moment expose in me? That question is gold. Each breakdown became a map, where I was weak, where I was blind, where I needed to evolve. And here is the beauty. When you integrate those lessons, you stop repeating the same emotional loops. You stop falling for the same traps. You begin to see the strike before it comes. That awareness is power. People fear breaking down because they confuse it with being broken. But the truth is, the moment you shattered was the moment your real upgrade began. Pain forced you to face what comfort hid. Once you face truth, emotion stops driving you. You start driving it. You begin guarding your time like your life depends on it. You choose your words with precision. You stop leaking energy into useless battles. Each wound becomes a weapon in your arsenal. That is the transformation from chaotic emotion to tactical awareness. You start moving like a tactician, cold, calm, controlled. And when you return from that state, you are not ruthless. You are refined. Your energy becomes laser-focused. Your silence becomes heavy. You no longer need to announce your strength. It is felt. Now let me speak of something that cuts deeper than failure: betrayal. Betrayal is the sword that no armor can block because it is wielded by the one you trusted. It enters not through the skin, but through the heart. I have felt that cut. The shock, the disbelief. It is a pain that makes you question your judgment, your kindness, your worth. But listen carefully. Betrayal is not just a wound. It is purification. It burns away every illusion you had about loyalty and love. It forces you to confront the version of yourself that tolerated too much, that ignored the signs. When someone betrays you, do not focus on their act. Study your blindness. Ask, where did I allow this? That is where your next lesson lies. Betrayal exposes the gap between who you truly are and who you allowed yourself to be for someone else's comfort. It hurts, yes, but after the fire, you emerge cleaner, sharper. You stop chasing, explaining, begging for validation. You stop making space for people who drain your spirit. That old version of you, the one who loved without boundaries, dies in that fire. And what is born is discernment. You begin to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. You stop confusing consistency with loyalty, charm with integrity, words with truth. The gift of betrayal is clarity. And once you have clarity, you no longer need revenge. Clarity is enough. Thank those who betrayed you silently. They showed you what you refused to see. Without them, you might have stayed soft, blind, or chained to illusions. Betrayal stripped you of fantasy and handed you truth. That is power. Now protect your peace like a fortress. Trust, but with awareness. Love, but with standards. Give, but not beyond your capacity. From that moment on, your energy belongs only to what strengthens you. Many people never reach greatness because they allow their pain to turn into bitterness. Bitterness is pain that was never transformed. It festers. It poisons not the enemy, but the host. You can see it in their eyes. They carry old stories like heavy chains, repeating what hurt them, defining themselves by what they lost. I made a different choice. I let pain make me disciplined, not bitter. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every doubt that surrounded me, I used it. I turned it into focus, into hours of training, into silence. Because pain that is expressed in anger dies quickly, but pain that is shaped into purpose lives forever. Bitterness reacts, greatness responds. To transform pain, you must process it in stillness, not in noise. Sit with it until it cools into understanding, then forge it into action. The bitter mind says, I will never trust again. The disciplined mind says, I trust myself so deeply that I no longer fear betrayal. The bitter person avoids effort because effort reminds them of failure. But the legendary person trains harder because they know every rep, every drop of sweat carries the memory of what once hurt and refines it. Pain can shrink you or stretch you. It can close your heart or cleanse it. It can trap you in the past or launch you into your future. You decide. I chose to rise, to train when tired, to speak only when silence wasn't enough, to move even when fear whispered, stop, because comfort does not create legends. Endurance through the dark does. Resilience under pressure does. Transformation without an audience does. So do not waste your pain on bitterness. Use it. Let it make you extraordinary. Every scar on your body, every lesson in your soul, these are not symbols of weakness, but of survival. You are still standing. That means you are still becoming. So now, my friend, you understand. Pain is not the curse you thought it was. It is the very force that shapes the steel within you. And yet most people still fight it, still curse it, still beg to be rescued from the very thing that could make them whole. I tell you, do not ask life for an easy path. Ask instead for strength to walk the hard one with grace, because it is the rough road that polishes the stone. It is the fire that hardens the blade. I trained my body to move fast and precise, but I trained my mind to move slower, to observe, to calculate, to adapt. That is how you must treat pain. When it strikes, do not thrash. Feel it, breathe, let the sensation teach you its language. Each time you survive what you thought would destroy you, your identity expands. You realize, I am not that fragile version of me anymore. You start seeing pain as data, not as death. You study its message. You evolve. When you rise after a great fall, you walk differently. Your eyes change. Your silence changes. You no longer seek approval because you have faced something deeper than opinion. You have faced truth. The world will always test you. It will tempt you to react, to defend, to explain. But the wise warrior answers with presence, not with noise. When you have mastered pain, you do not need to prove anything. You stand still and the world feels your power. Look around. People talk endlessly about winning, but few have trained for losing. Yet it is in losing that you discover the limits of your endurance. It is in loss that humility is born, and humility is the doorway to mastery. Do not be ashamed of the scars you carry. Scars are proof that you lived with courage. They are symbols of the battles you have already won. Every scar holds a story, and that story contains instruction. If you listen, it will tell you what kind of warrior you have become. You must remember, pain is intelligent. It repeats lessons until you learn them. If you keep meeting the same struggle, the same disappointment, the same kind of betrayal, life is not punishing you, it is tutoring you. Ask yourself, what am I still refusing to see? Then face it directly. Growth always demands honesty. When you begin to live this way, pain loses its control over you. You no longer flinch when it approaches. You welcome it as a signal. You say, here is my next lesson. That mindset transforms fear into curiosity. It transforms suffering into strength. Most people are prisoners of their unprocessed pain. They carry invisible weights, resentment, regret, guilt, and those weights slow every movement of their life. Free yourself, release the story, keep the lesson, nothing else. I once said, be water. Do you know why? Because water transforms everything it touches, yet it remains itself. It adapts without surrendering its nature. Pain can do the same for you if you let it flow through, not stagnate within. When pain flows, it cleanses. When it stagnates, it poisons. So when life hits you, flow. Do not cling to the blow. Absorb it, redirect it, learn its rhythm. That is what I call emotional kung fu. Do not waste your life trying to avoid discomfort. Instead, become so skilled at enduring it that it no longer threatens you. A warrior's calm does not come from the absence of fear, but from the mastery of response. Every time you endure hardship without breaking, you earn a new level of silence inside you. That silence is sacred. It is where confidence lives. Not arrogance, but certainty. You begin to know without words that nothing outside can defeat what is disciplined inside. And that, my friend, is freedom. Not freedom from pain, but freedom within it. Remember this: life will test your limits until you stop seeing them as limits. It will keep challenging you until you no longer fear challenge. That is the secret of transformation. Each trial is a teacher, each setback a lesson plan written in struggle. And if you learn them well, one day you will thank the pain that once made you curse the world. Understand this deeply. Pain is not a random visitor. It is an invitation to meet the parts of yourself you have not yet trained. Do not decline it. Accept it with dignity. Train with it until it bows to you. When you do, pain becomes energy, pure, concentrated energy. You can channel it into focus, discipline, creation. The same energy that once broke you now builds you. That is the transformation. The wound becomes the weapon. Most people speak of power as dominance over others. That is weakness in disguise. Real power is mastery over self, the power to remain composed when everything around you trembles. When you reach that level, you no longer chase peace. You are peace. Wherever you stand becomes steady ground. You stop running from solitude. You stop fearing failure. You stop needing applause. Because you have trained in fire, and now you carry that fire within you. Think of your pain as the blacksmith thinks of his forge. Each time the hammer falls, the metal sings. It glows, bends, strengthens. So it is with your spirit. Every strike refines you. Every disappointment shapes your edge. Do not resist the hammer. Work with it. Align yourself with the rhythm of your trials. The hammer falls, you breathe. The flame rises, you focus. The metal cools, you rest. This is the dance between pain and progress. When you understand this dance, you stop fearing pain and start respecting it. Respect is the first step toward mastery. And soon you find yourself doing what once seemed impossible, smiling through difficulty, standing tall under pressure, walking calmly through chaos. Not because it is easy, but because you have become greater than the challenge itself. Pain will visit you again and again, not to destroy you, but to remind you of your training. Each new hardship will ask, did you truly learn, or did you only survive? Answer with your actions. Show that you have turned your suffering into skill. If you are betrayed, respond with clarity. If you lose, respond with discipline. If you fall, rise with understanding. That is how you prove that pain was your teacher, not your master. Because in the end, pain does not want your defeat. It wants your awakening. So now, hear me clearly. Do not let the world convince you that comfort is success. Do not let easy days make you soft. Train when you are tired. Prepare when you are peaceful. Seek silence when life is loud. Pain will either shrink you or shape you. If you resist it, you remain the same. If you use it, you transcend. I have felt pain in my body, in my heart, in my dreams, but I never let it close me. I let it carve me. Each cut opened space for more strength, more wisdom, more life. One day you will look back at what you thought would destroy you, and you will realize that was the moment you were being rebuilt. When you finally see this, you stop running. You stop fighting yourself. You stand still, breathe, and say, thank you, because pain did not punish you. It trained you. Now go train with your pain before life trains you by force. Let every scar remind you that you endured. Let every heartbreak remind you that you cared deeply. Let every loss remind you that you are still alive. Do not waste these gifts. Turn them into focus. Turn them into mastery. Turn them into power. And when the world asks how you became unshakable, how you became so calm under chaos, you will smile and say, because pain was my teacher.